How would you like to be scaling the cliffs of Dune Awakening like a sandworm being shot up out of the ground with a F-47 strapped to its back? Well, I can get you pretty close to that, and the process itself is actually fairly simple, but it does have a few requirements and a few steps that you need to take in order to get everything working properly. And I'm going to break this entire thing down in detail so that when the game launches, you can hopefully get your hands on this tech as early as possible, because it is an absolute game changer. If this video helps you out at all, then help me out by hitting that like button so we can together, in a sense, help even more people out. But let's go ahead and cut this plug and get right into it. To start off, let's break down what is required to fly through the air like this, and that is, first off, the Trooper class, so you can have access to the Grapple skill. I haven't tested any of the other classes aside from a little bit of the Planetologist class, but honestly, Trooper is the way to go. This Grapple is such a game-changing movement ability. But on top of the Grapple, you're also going to need a unique schematic called the Emperor's Wings. This is a suspension belt schematic, and finding the very first tier of this schematic is actually incredibly simple. It should be something that if you're following the main quest line, you automatically run into. It should be something that everybody eventually is going to unlock. However, there is a higher tier of this schematic. I'll get into that a little bit later. But let's go ahead and start off with where exactly this first schematic is located, just in case you wanted to try and nab this thing a bit early before you get to that point in the quest line. And this is inside of the Haga Basin at the Imperial Testing Station number 2. This is located basically directly east of the Griffin Reach trading post, and the schematic is unfortunately located in the very final chest of this testing station, so you will have to complete the entire thing in some way, shape, or form. But me personally, when I start up Dune Awakening at the very launch, this is where I'm going to be setting up my first base as I try to power through the quest. Obviously, grabbing this Emperor's Wings schematic as soon as possible because of the mobility that this provides. And not only that, the survivability from falls that it provides is absolutely priceless. The items required to craft this are 8 copper ingots, 6 particle capacitors, as well as 5 spice-infused copper dust. Thankfully, the spice-infused copper dust you get from this very same testing station, so you should be able to craft this thing as soon as you get it. And the description on this suspensor belt reads, jump twice to activate and float upwards. Suspensor fields are notorious for preserving momentum. Emphasis on the carries momentum here, because this is the mechanic that allows you to rocket through the air. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and jump in and break down exactly how you're going to perform this method. Essentially, once you have the Emperor's Wings equipped and the Grapple equipped, you can walk up to any wall, any cliffside, anything that's going to get you some air, really, and then launch up per usual. However, if you time the activation of your suspension belt at just the right moment, it is going to carry all that momentum from your Grapple and just absolutely launch you into the air. You can see here, even with these tier 1 Emperor's Wings, we are just getting a ridiculous amount of air. And this is a good enough segue as any into the tier 2 schematic for these Emperor's Wings. In order to find this, you're going to have to make your way up to this rock formation here. This giant rock formation, it stands out like a sore thumb. You shouldn't miss it. It's inside of the Eastern Vermilius Gap. However, you can see this thing from miles and miles away. Once you get to the very top of this thing, you're going to find something called Merzbah's Head, and it's inside of this where you will find the second tier of the Emperor's Wings schematic. However, in order to even craft these, you're going to need spice-infused iron ingots, and these took me forever to find, an unnecessary amount of time, really, because I was looking in the completely wrong spots. But to save time inside of this video, I'm just going to tell you where you can find these spice-infused iron. I will have a video going in depth on this. Check that out if you're interested. But where you're going to find this thing is at Testing Station 197. This is in the Western Vermilion Gap region, but it is right on the border of the Eastern Vermilion Gap and the Haga Basin right to the south. It's right in that southeastern corner, and it's essentially a giant hole in the ground. There should be absolutely no way that you miss this thing. I don't know if this is the only spot where you can get spice-infused iron, but it's for sure a spot where you can get a good chunk of it. And to be honest, when it comes to the upgraded Emperor's wings, I'm not seeing that much of a difference in the height that I get. Really, all of the difference in height comes from how good your timing was on activating the space bar. Were there any rocks in your way? How much momentum was it able to maintain before it activated, right? However, with these tier 2 wings, I am noticing that it seems to be slowing me down more, and also in doing so causes me to take less fall damage. On top of that, it seems to be that I can have this activated for much, much longer. So it's not that they're useless, but I'm not getting any sort of like crazy height advantage from these second tier. Basically, what I'm saying is that both tiers of the Emperor's Wings suspension belts are insane and well worth your time grabbing. And in fact, I've had so much fun flying around inside of the beta with these that I'm basically revolving my entire day one speed run, speed quest game plan around this suspension belt and the grappling hook, essentially trying to speed run both of these upgrades so we can then speed run into the rest of the game. Let me know down in the comments if you guys managed to spend any time inside of the beta this weekend and what sort of handy or overpowered schematics you might have found. But that's all that I wanted to break down today. I hope you guys all have an amazing day. I'm out.